Test, test, check 1, 2. You know you need unique New York. You know you need unique New York. Does that sound all right? Ah, that's better. You can always tell something's missing when you get isolated results. Like AI that's only right for one of your systems. Get AI that can work across your data and applications. Learn more at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Mega is an improvised satire from the staff of a fictional megachurch.
We are here, the Lord, we are here, and we're ready to podcast.
Hiya, I'm Halle Levant, and this is Mega, coming to you from Twin Hills Community Church, where every single week we're giving our mega church a tiny family feel. We love to introduce you to members of our church staff, people from our community, and I always find it to be a treat and a treasure. And per usual, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the youth pastor for our high school ministry called Climax. Please welcome Gray Haas.
What's up, guys? Christ is alive. How are you, Halle?
Isn't that right? Isn't that the truth?
Yes. And,
Ooh.
the other day somebody was like, why do you call everybody guys? And I was like, whoa, are we policing that now? You can't call everybody guys. I'm so tired.
Girls love to be called guys. We've been called guys since we were young.
I know.
And my daughter's like, well, if you walk up to a table of guys and you say, hey, girls, they're going to beat you up. It's considered a, insult. But if you walk up to a table of girls and you go, hey, guys, what would you like to have tonight? That we're like, oh, cool. And
I know. Isn't that fun?
I know. I think, is it so bad to try to bring everyone together?
We're just trying to bring everyone together.
But you're right. Christ is alive, Gray. And when I hear those words, it's like a defibrillator on my heart.
Oh,
my husband, Lance Labont, had a defibrillator this week. We just keep one now in the kitchen.
He had a defibrillator?
I had to defibrillate him.
Oh, really?
Week. Yeah.
He had a heart attack? Or do you just use it to kind of perk him up?
Yeah. Just if he's kind of having a slumpy episode, I give him a little clear, pew, and boy, that's one way to get him talking during dinner, which I know he can do now because when his mom was staying this summer, he was nothing but constant conversationalist with his mom.
Oh,
and
what did he and his mom talk about?
That's the thing. I marveled at it, Gray. I just listened to them talk to each other and I was like, so he can do it. He just isn't doing it with me.
Oh.
They talked about everything, even things that weren't involving sports, which
really?
Normally I have to, be like, wow, I can't believe it's 1st and 10 again, or, stuff like that to,
Right.
Trying to comment on what he's watching is really the only way I can get him to, grunt in my direction.
Right.
But any hoodles.
Well, anyway, guys, we are so excited to be here. We're recording this live on our YouTube live stream. And of course, we are using Patreon member suggestions to get us going.
So we want to get started with, a real heartbeat of Twin Hills is the giving ministry. We
Yes.
have like dozens of volunteers every single weekend who work the, time of offering, and where we take a time to give our tithes and offerings to God. It doesn't just keep the lights on at the church, but it fulfills all of these important ministries that we're doing locally and globally.
Yes.
I mean, we got a Brinks truck that, pulls up. We have an armored guy, an armed Brinks guy with an armored truck to put our.
I like that he wears the bullets, sort of like the cross bullet. What are those called?
Yeah, like the guys from Three Amigos.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Sort of
a bandolero. Is that what that's called?
A band of bullets.
A band of
going around
bullets.
you. I think at first I thought, maybe he was just doing that for, Halloween. That's funny that the Brinks guy is wearing a bunch of bullets.
Right, but he said these are real.
Year round.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just his personality. I always wave to him and do some joking around with him because I'm, working toward witnessing to him.
Oh, really? Oh, you don't think he's Christian?
Well, I mean, he's standing outside during the service. So,
right. I thought that was just part of the job, but yeah, maybe he does need to be witnessed too.
But the way we handle our tithes and offerings at Twin Hills is it's the world-class example of honestly how churches should do it everywhere. And what we do is that we get up there from the stage during our all of our different services, and during the offering time, we very specifically ask people to please let that plate pass right on by, especially if you are not visiting. Please, this service is our gift to you. Please take it freely. This is not for you. I mean, we're putting a plate in their hands. They have to pass it down. But that being said, we're also saying, please don't put anything in there.
And now it's interesting because we do have the QR codes on the seats too, on the arms of your chair in the auditorium. But we say, don't even scan that QR code. That QR code is not for you.
But it's so convenient that a lot of times people do, and they're able to give their tithes and offerings that way through a QR code, which is, a lot of banking is done on the phones now. So we got to kind of.
Oh, you can tap the offering plate with your phone too. That will work.
It can be contactless, in fact.
But we say, don't do that.
Don't
do that. Let
whatever you do,
let it pass you by.
And yet people still, they're filling it up. They're filling it up with cash. They're filling it up, with checks, money orders. They're filling it up sometimes with foreign currency.
I know that's
not
okay,
advised, but it does. We do lose a little bit in the exchange.
Well, it's always kind of weird when someone's puts a bunch of pesos in there, and you're like, well, somebody clearly just went to Mexico and still had these in their wallet.
And we've noticed on the leadership team that when Steve has not spoken and given a message about tithing in a long time, the giving starts to go down. And so Steve will usually once or twice a year just give a little refresher course in why we are called to give 10% of our income, of our wealth, or lack of wealth. If you're talking about my kids, they're complaining about having to tithe because they're like, I'm already being taxed by the government, and I'm only making, $12 an hour as it is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, and I'm really impressing upon all my daughters and upon my son Gray that they have to be given 10% of everything they make to the church. And we will be good stewards of it. And by doing that, by giving the church 10%, you're also being a good steward of your money, because guess what? How much money you'd have without God? Zero. You wouldn't even have a life. You wouldn't even have a planet.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
this past Sunday, we had our regular tithes and offering message because people really need to be reminded of the thinking, the theory, the philosophy, if you will, of tithing and why it was so important to the heart of Jesus.
Because, I mean, think about that early church. They needed 10% because they didn't even have churches yet. They were needing the 10% to build, their awesome churches that they probably had and things like that. They didn't just want to sit around in a sheep pasture or something like that. So they needed, I'm sure Jesus was even thinking at that time, how do we make this a thing that people want to come to and spend their Sunday afternoon? Or in that time, I think they did a different day, but none of that matters. He was saying 10%, that's minimum. That's minimum.
Yep.
And I think it was interesting because this year Steve has upped the tithe and he's like, this isn't political, but he's like,
well, cost of living raises.
Well, he was like, blame Biden.
Yeah.
Because inflation's going crazy. And now we have to do 10.8%. And I didn't see a single person bat an eye because they were like, yes, this is right. Because inflation is crazy, and we all know it's one person's fault. And then I think even though we have tax exempt status, I think it's good to remind people of that.
Tithing is a spiritual practice, like praying. And you know how sometimes, as we think about prayer and as we learn about prayer and as we continue in a practice of being constantly in prayer, we learn that sometimes prayer doesn't change the heart of God, right? But guess whose heart it changes? You. Sometimes prayer doesn't change things, but it changes you. And guess what? Tithing, you might think, 10% of my income is only, let's say $100 a week, $400 a month that you're given to Twin Hills. That is a spiritual practice. It doesn't matter that if you're only giving $100 per Sunday, or hey, $5 per Sunday, or $10 or whatever. It doesn't matter because the work is being done on your heart. It reminds me of the widow's mite. Are you okay, Greg?
I'm sorry, I was praying.
Awesome.
What?
It looked like you were napping. I'm glad it was praying.
I am a little bit. I was praying, but I was praying because I was praying for sleep, actually, because we've just had such an issue with, I'm not sure if I've mentioned him before, but my friend Clay Mason Bannerman's neighbor.
Donovan Geo.
He's been keeping everyone up. And
up at night? What do you mean?
Well, he's got this new project that he's calling that it's just this. He's basically running an illegal nightclub, I think, out of his house, out of his dome house.
What?
He's got this thing. He's calling it the Boom Boom Room, and it's just in the middle of the night, all you hear is boom, 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 and we cannot get him to. And they lock the gate, they lock the doors, they close on. The wind. There's not really too many windows. There's a bunch of skylights, and they black all those out. And I just said, Clay, how do we get rid of this guy? Because he's clearly a menace to society.
Yep.
And I'm like, why do you need to have a club? Why do you need to open a club if you already have a lot of money? You have the Geo fortune. You don't need to be making money. He says, not for money, it's for fun. And he'll walk in and be like, who's gonna boom in the boom boom room? And I'm like, what? You can't do a catchphrase for your own club. It's stupid. Anyway, so sorry. I was just praying that something would happen to change that. Maybe the boom boom room gets shut down by the city, which is possible since I've contacted them, or maybe he just chokes and has to take a time out. And by take a time out, I mean, like, maybe not. I don't wish death on anybody, but I just wish he would be kind of incapacitated in a way that he would just quiet down and put on some pants.
I can't wait for our first day where the temperature hits below zero. Because if that doesn't get this guy to put on some pants, I don't know. I feel like
it won't.
He might have some kind of disorder, some disordered thinking or something.
Oh, he says he's got fur ones.
Fur Y fronts?
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to have to read some Psalms. I can't even. I think that you are being tested. Remember when Satan took Jesus up to a high place and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and he tempted Christ? I feel like you are being put through your paces as a man of God. God is testing your limits with this man, Donovan Gio, and his catchphrases and his boom boom room and his, cowboy butts drive me nuts and all the other disgusting things that come out of his mouth.
And I don't want to deal with any of that.
Well, I'm going to put you on the top of my prayer list.
Recently, Halle, I played have you ever done VR? Like the Oculus.
Oh, yeah, sure. My kids love VR.
There's a Christian video game company that, they sent me an Oculus. They were like, hey, can you try out some of these new kind of VR Christian video games? One was awesome. It was just like, it was kind of like a Deal or No Deal type setup, but it was just the devil taking, you're standing there and you're looking out and it just takes you to all the kingdoms of the world. And then it's just kind of saying like, do you take it or do you not? And it was cool. I mean, the graphics were amazing. I don't know really what the game was because it actually wouldn't let you take it. You had to, go with Jesus. But it was really cool. I mean, what they're doing with VR.
I get a little confused sometimes with that story of Jesus being tempted by Satan in the desert because
what's confusing?
Here's the thing. So Satan shows Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, and he says, all of this can be yours if you bow down and worship me. Am I right?
Right.
Well, here's what I want to know is why didn't Jesus just start laughing hysterically? Because I would be like, these aren't your kingdoms to give, kiddo. Get down. Get behind me, babe, because these are mine. I mean, God made planet Earth. All the kingdoms of the world belong to God. We know that God is going to win the final battle someday.
Right.
Even though God is outside of time, somehow he's still waiting for a point in time. But that doesn't, anyway, but also it hurts my brain because if Satan is offering Jesus all the kingdoms of the world, then that means that all the kingdoms of the world are ostensibly belonging to Satan, which would mean that Satan is in charge, which, it feels like that a lot of times. I'll tell you what, as an earthling, I'll say it does feel like he's in charge a lot of the time, especially if you look at the stuff coming out of Hollywood and all that. But also, so first of all, Jesus didn't start laughing. So maybe Satan does have power, which also then it makes me say, why, if when Satan caused such a terrible offense in heaven that he had to be cast out, Lucifer, morning star, had to be cast out of heaven because he was questioning the authority of God. God can't take any amount of insurrection insurrection is good, right? God can't take any rebellion.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? And so God can't take any rebellion or resistance or any of that stuff. And so God casts him out. Here's my big question. Why did God cast Satan, Lucifer, Morningstar, to planet Earth? If the earthlings are the object of God's greatest affection, he's totally obsessed with us. He wants our worship all the time, thinks about us constantly, killed his son so that he could be perfectly bonded with us in pure, sinless unity for all time, is how much he loves us. He's so totally obsessed with us. He just wants to be with us all the time, to the point where he killed his kid. Sorry, I already said that. But why then would he send Lucifer this, I want to call him a really bad word, but I'm going to try to control myself here. But this,
he's a
bellend. He's a bellend.
What is
Satan.
that? He's something that Ted said?
Yeah, Ted said, I learned some things from my tit kid, Ted, which I got to talk about with you in a second, because I do need your advice as a godly man on an issue with the Ted thing that has come up. But I just want to finish this thing to say, why would God send a bad, jilted
butt? He's just a butt.
He's a butt. Why would he send him to rule planet Earth if we are the ones God obsessively loves and wants to be with? Then why did he send his bad guy here to torment us and put sin and boobs in our face all the time?
Halle, I've got your answer, and you've already gone so far away from the simplest answer. And, you know, I always like to say the simplest answer is the best one.
Yep.
And I'll just give you a story from IRL, my real life, about something that happened to me the other day.
Ooh.
And I hate to bring it up, but it's about Donovan Geo again.
Oh, it grieves the heart, I guess.
So the other day, well, we're in our living room. I think Clay and I were watching we were probably watching America's Got Talent because we enjoy that. Well, Clay likes it. I don't really. I just don't think most of America doesn't have a lot of talent. So,
what do you want to watch?
Well, I want to watch Australia's Got Talent, but we don't have that on the package. So anyway, we're sitting there and, you know, I'm trying to just tune in, and suddenly I hear this.
Chewing noises?
And I'm like, what is that? Look at Clay. He's not eating anything. Look to my right.
Popsicles there?
Popsicles is asleep in his Pikachu costume. Look around, like, what? Up from behind the sectional, Donovan Geo.
Oh, he's in the house?
And he's eating my Bucky Crisps.
Oh, no.
And he goes,
Happens every day.
Want some? And I'm like, first off, how did you get in here?
That's breaking
Those
the
are
trade.
my crisps that I order specially from Australia because they're made of pigskin. And then,
pure protein?
Yes. And then he's offering me my own thing. And this, Halle, is exactly what the devil did to Jesus. He's offering something that's not his.
Okay. Right.
And I think that's everything you need to know about Donovan Geo.
That's all I need to know.
And about the devil in this situation.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense, folks, but guess what? Jesus did not pick educated people to follow him. He picked everyday normos, except for Matthew. I think Matthew was a doctor, which seems like a little bit elite.
I thought you were talking about people today, and I was like, well, I think pretty educated, Halle.
But I do want to ask you, speaking of my...
I have a master's degree.
What?
Yes.
Great. You have a master's in divinity?
No. I have a master's in biblical worship. I think it's a master's in biblical worship module. It's a module, I guess. It's not really a master's, but I call it a master's because it is. I am a MA, which is a master's of. It's a module. I have a module.
Well,
I got a training module.
From where? What school did module you?
What?
What school?
Oh, for
Bethel Music?
No. This was part of the Evangelical Association of Australia and the greater Oceanic worship leaders training conference.
Greater Oceanic
where it was one of the first modules I did. It was over 2 weekends and about 12 hours of instruction. And, so I guess going back to, I'm pretty educated. Anyway, I have a module. A master's degree.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
Well, I am, by saying that, Jesus did not pick educated men, I am not saying that Christianity and the story of the gospel is not rigorous intellectually.
Right.
It really is. But sometimes I agree with you that the simplest answer
is the best.
Is the best answer.
Yes.
And that's what that movie with Jodie Foster was like, where she went to space and talked to her dad.
Oh, I thought you talked about the one where she locked herself in a room and couldn't stop screaming.
I think that's the same movie.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, I just wanted to ask your advice. Speaking of my tick kid, my teen in Christ service, my ticks kid who comes, this past summer, I had a tick kid from Poland, Ted, who, he was a crowd favorite. All my friends loved him. My kids' friends loved him. My kids loved him. But I wanted to ask your advice because one of my daughters wants to go visit Ted in Poland and said that she's raised the money herself by doing a lot of pipe fitting. And so she raised the money but I was
think
like,
Ted did a lot of pipe fitting when he was here.
I'm sure he did because they started welding together. She's part of the welding union, the pipe fitters union. She's into all that stuff. She's wearing Dickies and she's wearing Carhartts, and like the fabric is so thick, you couldn't even kill her with a bow and arrow if you wanted to. On all these, onesies and overalls she's wearing. Any hoodles. She wants to go to Poland, and
you're not going to go to Poland, right? You're not going to send it to Poland.
Well, I was like, honey, what's going on here? Did you like what you saw? I mean, Ted had a 5 o'clock shadow for a teen boy. I mean, he's virile. Are we allowed to say that?
Probably not. But
she's got forearms like Popeye. She's a strong girl. She can do pull-ups and push-ups.
Right. Which daughter is this?
This is the one who is best friends with Brandy, always having tickle fights. I was worried if I saw her hanging out with another girl who looked like her. If my daughter hung out with somebody who looked like her, I'd be concerned. And so I said, do you kind of have a soft spot in your heart for Ted, honey?
Oh, okay.
And she said, no,
a little summer crush.
Yeah. I said, are you interested maybe in tasting his pierogies or whatnot?
I don't know, Halle. I just don't think it's a good idea, especially because I have a hard time seeing that daughter really be into Ted, since she's, could easily break him in half if she picked him up and, toss him. It's just, she's very strong.
Yeah, and he's a rock climber, remember?
Yeah, but he can
climb up the side of a perfectly vertical surface like he's a spider.
Right,
I mean,
but he's slight.
He's sort of slight, but he does have lats and traps and these neck ones and the things like that the gladiator guys have.
Well, they're not that big.
He does have those, but he's still, I could pick him up myself. If I just wrap my arms around him, I could, he's a guy who could jump on your back and you could carry him around piggyback, You couldn't do that.
I don't know why you would
men.
do that, but I think the thing is, Halle, your daughter, she's in high school. She doesn't need to be going to Poland to see, even though he is Christian, we hope, and even though he was a great addition to the Tick Summer program, I just think it's not good to send your kid abroad unless it's under a missionary type program.
Oh, yeah.
It's one thing if you send her to Rwanda or something to go tell the story of Christ, or Uganda or the Congo
or Gaza. I was like, if it's missions, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, but don't send it to Poland.
I'll send her to the middle of the Sahara Desert. I'll send her to the middle of Beirut. I'll send her anywhere she wants to go, because you know what? God will protect her.
Yeah.
She can go into these bomb zones, but I'll tell you where she's not going to go.
No.
She's not going to go to LA. She's not going to go to New York.
And she's not going to go to Europe by herself in high school.
Well, not to France, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe even Germany, because I heard that Germany's got these, I'll just call them dance clubs, but what's happening inside is dancing
you
without your clothes on.
You should see what happens
intimately with other people in groups.
That's what I'm worried Donovan Geo is up to with the Boom Boom Room.
Oh, it grieves the heart of God. Well, any hoodles, my husband, Lance Labont, said, as long as she's staying in a place where she can't sleep in the same room with Ted, if his family has a room for her and she's paying for it,
Well,
Lance
don't they
said
only? I think they all sleep in one room in Poland.
Oh, see, I wouldn't put it past her trying to pull one over on me, and I wasn't born yesterday. So anyway, I covet your prayers, my friend, because she's not gonna be happy either way this goes. I feel like she's making so much money in the union.
Really?
That her tithing, speaking of 10.8% to the Lord, my daughter's tithing alone. That's why these people in labor unions, they're wanting to get paid for their labor.
Oh,
they want to
know.
get paid well for their labor. They
And they're
want to
like
be able
babies,
to not
but-
have to have 4 jobs and stuff.
Oh, like a child could
and I'm
do
like,
those
then
jobs.
don't go into welding.
Right.
But the labor.
And a child does do those jobs because your daughter is one of them.
But these labor unions, I just don't get it. I know they're un-American because it's, people wanting to, be compensated fairly for their labor. But guess what? This is America. That money goes to shareholders. It's called capitalism. You know what capital is? Money. So you could call it moneyism. Sorry, them's the breaks. We live in moneyism, and the money goes to the top. So get back to work. You know what I mean?
That's right.
All right. Well, let's see what else we got. Because we have some letters we want to talk about. Oh, I did get a message this week. Someone was wanting an update on my dogs.
Oh.
I got my Frenchies and my corgis. I'm a dong person.
What?
I love cats. Nothing against cats.
Are you saying
but
dog?
I'm a dong person.
Are you saying dong?
Yeah, I got Frenchies and I got corgis.
Why are you saying dong?
And I'm sorry, what?
You saying I'm a dong person?
Yes, I got nothing against cats.
Is this like a cute nickname you've just come up with? Your cats and your dongs?
My dogs, my Frenchies and my corgis.
You said dongs, Halle.
No, I said no. Everyone knows what my Frenchies and corgis are. Any hoodles, they're doing well. They got to where they would eat nothing but catfish because I had so much I was trying to give to my husband Lance Labont. And I have had the hardest time getting pajamas and bagel and pancake off of the catfish because I don't want to keep going over to the specialty grocer for it.
Right.
Now I'm just ordering these tiny little birds off of Amazon that you have to, the
ortolans.
Yeah, that you have to eat with a kitchen towel over your head.
Lance is still on an ortolan diet?
Exclusively. And he
So
feels
how do you
great.
prepare those? Do you just microwave them?
You can microwave anything. I mean, basically, and even if I'll tell you this I'll give you for free. If your drugs are expired, it doesn't mean you can't take them. It just means you have to double them up. And if
Do you mean prescription medication?
yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Or anything like Claritin or whatever. If
Really?
it's expired, it doesn't mean you have to throw it away. It just means you have to take more. That's true.
Okay.
And then I forgot the other thing I was talking about.
Okay.
Anyway, so just so you know, the dogs are doing great. And they're all happy and healthy. I've got them back on kibble and soft food. And I'm going to go out on a limb and just say, I don't mind the way that the cans of dog food, the soft, wet dog food smells.
Oh, I thought you were about to say taste.
I think it's a good smell, and my kids think it's disgusting, but they also make fun of me because I think when I'm driving down, Route 22 or whatever out here, when you're kind of in the cornfields and stuff, if you can smell a skunk out in the wild, I think it smells good. Also like the smell of gasoline and like the sound of a diesel engine. I'm just going to put that out there. Hey, what do you think about the 8 a.m. traditional service, the proposal that has come onto the table of the leadership team? You and I haven't had a chance to talk about.
I think it stinks. I am so against it, Halle.
Really? Well, for those of you who don't know, it's been proposed that we start an 8 a.m. service that has traditional hymns and rituals and things like that. It'll have an older lady singing kind of a little bit flat and, pinning up her gray curls and whatever, maybe an organ if people want. Singing some of those old, spirituals and hymns
it's
and
just
amazing
such
graces.
a bad idea. I mean,
really?
well, don't you think, Halle? I mean, what this whole church is founded. When Steve first started it, way back in the early days in the bowling alley, he was going, how do you make church for the unchurched cool and not seem like church? And that is how we approach every service. We want people to come in and go, this is church, not this is church. And I really think that
this is church?
Yeah.
And
not,
that's what we want. We don't want this is church.
Or,
we want
or,
this is
or this is church. And I just really, if the first thing, yes, I know old people get up early.
They do.
But we don't have very many of them in the congregation. And I think they need to sleep in a bit and get hip to the program. If we start doing this, catering to everybody and giving them, I remember a few years ago, someone was like, can we have a fragrance-free section? And Steve said, no, absolutely not. What is with, it's like, guess what God gave you 5 senses? One of those is what? Smelling. So if you don't want to smell, if you literally don't want to smell someone, maybe you need to rethink about why you're even coming to church. And, of course, that person was like, well, I'll just watch online, which is fine. But, I would say we have a great smelling congregation. There is a lot of great cologne and perfume that people use.
I would
in
say
this
over
church.
90% in any service has showered that day.
Oh, and used a fragrance. So what are you going to like?
And a deodorant.
Yeah. So
and
we're
an
not
antiperspirant.
And this is the thing, Halle. We're not going to just always be catering to some specific demographic. Now, I know there is a piece of that is difficult because, when you're boomers, typically do like to go to church, they do like to give money, and they do like to sing sort of like a weird bird sound, and they love to sing harmony that's 1 to 3 notes kind of right in the middle of the register. And they want to sing it to those old hymns that just make you want to fall asleep. I'll say it.
To the old rugged cross. I mean, that's not going to make someone say, this is church. It's not.
Right, it's not. And so we're not going to do...
They're going to be like, yeah, this is church.
We're not going to do that. So I've been against it. It seems like there are some people that want to do it. And I'm just going to stand... Because first off, who wants to get up that early to go to church anyway?
Well, don't you get up that early to lift weights?
Exactly.
Oh.
But I'm that's my own quiet time. My vision of worship is, yes, I'm in the gym early. That's my prayer time.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I can kind of move in that direction and join you there at that opinion because it's probably right because, you are a man and you're a man of God and you're a man in a position of leadership. And so I respect your opinion. I was open to it at first. I'm obviously not now because you make great points.
Right.
But, I like old people. So I like
Really? What do you like about them?
I like that they say what they mean and they mean what they say.
But a lot of times they don't mean what they say because they don't know what they're saying.
Well, that's true. In which case, you can act like they said whatever it is you want to talk about.
Oh.
And then you can kind of, lead the conversation. I like their old stories.
Really?
I liked it. I don't know. A lot of them are good cooks, bakers. Oh,
yeah, so much sugar though.
You need to, unless you've had a grandma make dinner rolls for you. You haven't eaten. And a grandma dinner roll that you put butter on, room temperature butter on a hot dinner roll. Well, I would say I'm at the gates of heaven myself.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I did have a grandmother that used to, make dinner rolls, but she used to, let them get very hard, let them sit out in the sun so they kind of turned into little little stones, and then she would throw them at us when we were, locked up inside the choo-choo box in the yard.
I wonder, if that's at all part of why you might feel uncomfortable around old people is because your grandma always locked you in a choo-choo box. Do you think
I don't really want to talk about that, but
around being locked in a choo-choo box in the sun for your whole childhood?
Well, I don't think trauma is the way of saying it, Halle, because I don't really think that's real.
Right.
But I would say, I would say in general, the aged make me kind of feel like uneasy.
Okay.
And I mean, there is the issue too of young people that are trying to be all trad now. And I like the trad wife stuff. I think that's cool. It's interesting, but we don't need you to be doing all the trad stuff like traditional service, like playing an organ. It just all sounds like a funeral. And
I know.
That's the problem is you have a bunch of old people essentially attending something that feels like a funeral. Then it's going to remind everybody in the room like, hey, these guys are going to die soon.
Why do hymns always have to sound like such a dirge?
I know.
Oh, victory in Jesus,
yeah, I just
my
don't.
Savior forever.
It's just like always those same three notes.
If it doesn't sound like Coldplay, people aren't going to be impressed with the power of God.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, I think old people are cute and they say cute things, and I like that they want to sing old, weird dirge songs and all that. But, honestly, I think it's that it's uncomfortable for us to be around them because they're just reminding us that we're gonna die, which as Christians, we're not. And I don't want to think about dying. We're not going to die.
Oh, I never think about it.
And so, I do need you to put me on the top of your prayer list because I use a lot of anti-aging products,
You do?
obviously, because we, especially as women, are not allowed to look like we are marching with time in the direction time goes in, which is marching you toward your grave.
Yeah.
And anyone who's closer to the grave than you're basically in a panic around because you know what? Jesus is the one who tells us, death has no victory. I've already beat it.
Yeah.
So as Christians, we don't
where's
want
your
to
sting?
have anything
Where's
to do
your
with
sting?
Yeah. But one of my daughters has been removing all my anti-aging products because she says, Halle, what's the difference? What's the opposite of if you're anti-aging? What are you pro? And I was like, I'm pro younging. I'm trying to look younger.
Yeah, which daughter?
My daughter, who has been taking these women's studies classes.
Oh, no. In high school?
Yes, you can take electives in high school once
Sick.
you get rid of your core classes. And so, anyway, why
don't we have man studies classes? See,
Exactly.
that's the thing.
We hardly
it's
know
not
anything
fair.
about men, and we don't get classes about them.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do one, you got to do the other.
I mean, it's called history. Am I right? It's not called herstory. I'm Holly Laurent playing Halle Labont, and Grey Haas was played by Greg Hess. Follow us and Mega the Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you really want to get out of hell free card, support us on Patreon. The link is in the show notes.